Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia, this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. Follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. And folks, it seems like we just got hit with the trio of wrestling deaths this past week. Unfortunately, like right before I started recording tonight, heard that former WCW star Charlie Norris had passed away. And I just remember him from 1993, and it seemed to me like he was on every single week on Worldwide or Main Event or whatever I could scrounge up to watch there. And then this past week also we lost former AWA journeyman and enhancement talent Sodbuster Kenny J, and of course losing legendary performer, wrestler Lanny Poffo, best known as the Genius in the WWF, also Leaping Lanny, but also part of the ICW, the Poffos, and all that, with his brother, of course, Randy Savage. And Lanny and I were Facebook friends, and he was always so nice. Like when my birthday would come around, or I would post something, and I've talked about it on here when I was doing a show from 2011 from the WWE, right around the time that Randy Savage passed away. And I told you I remember that day, and my first thought was reaching out and sending my condolences to Lanny, because we were Facebook friends for that long and just always so nice and gracious and send me birthday wishes and thank yous for things. And so to all three, it's just a gigantic loss in the wrestling world. Whenever something like this happens and you lose a member of the wrestling community. So our thoughts and prayers go out to them and their families and their loved ones during their time of loss. Today, Project 45 continues as we look at the April 13th, 2009 episode of Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw was shown live on the USA Network on April 13th, 2009 from the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. There were 16,341 in attendance. WWE intro. Flashback to what has been happening between Randy Orton and Triple H and the McMahon family, and Batista returning to take out Legacy. The WWE Raw intro. Pyro goes off as Michael Cole welcomes us to Raw as he says the WWE Draft will be tonight. They then throw it to Todd Grisham and Jim Ross from SmackDown, who talk more about the draft and how it will work. They then throw it to Josh Matthews and Matt Striker from ECW, so all three brands are represented. They also talk about the 15-man tri-brand battle royal that is coming up, and the champion versus champion match is John Cena, the World Heavyweight Champion, takes on ECW champion Jack Swagger. The crowd roars as Batista's music hits, and he comes out to a huge ovation. He gets a mic and says, "I can't tell you how good it feels to be back." He says, "I missed you guys way more than you missed me." He says it took him almost 4 months to get back into this ring, and the one thing that drove him was retribution for this, and they show him being attacked by Randy Orton and taken out. Batista says he has replayed that in his head every day for the last 4 months repeatedly. He says the worst part was just sitting around waiting, counting the days, counting the hours, counting the minutes, waiting to get his hand on Randy Orton. He says he's tired of waiting, and he is back. No more waiting, so Orton, stop being a little punk and get out here and face him like a man, and if you don't, he will tear apart every inch of the arena to find Orton. He says fine, have it your way when Orton doesn't come out. Batista goes to leave the ring when Shane McMahon's music hits. Shane tells Batista, "Welcome back." He says, "But I need to remind you that this was with malicious intent, that Randy Orton tried to separate his head from his shoulders, just like he did Batista. But he also did it to Shane's father, and the physicality that he did to Shane's sister is so reprehensible, he does not have the words to describe what he wants to do to Randy Orton. So, if anybody's getting retribution tonight, it's him. Batista says, no, I don't think so. They argue back and forth until Triple H's music hits, and he comes out and gets in the ring and grabs the mic. He says, Shane, you got to understand something. The reason for all this stuff with Orton, everything that's gone down with your dad and with you, it's because of me. Orton has been trying to get to him. It's all his fault. Randy Orton tried to get to the WWE Championship, and here's the thing. Dave, with all due respect to you and everything Orton has done to you and put you through, Randy Orton tried to take out Triple H's wife. He tried to take out the mother of Triple H's kids while Triple H watched. He says this is all because of him. He started it, and he's damn well going to finish it. He says, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Randy Orton is his. They all start arguing until they are cut off by Vicky Guerrero with her excuse me gimmick. She is rolled out in a wheelchair by Chavo to the top of the ramp, and the crowd boos her. She says the only person who will determine if and when anyone will face Randy Orton, it is her. The new general manager of Raw. The crowd boos. She says, now the three of you will have your chance at revenge against Orton when you team up and face Legacy in a 6-man tag team championship match at Backlash. She then says, may I remind you that if you're going to be overzealous in that match just like you are tonight, you could be counted out or disqualified, which means that Randy Orton could be the new WWE champion. Now, if the three of you want a piece of Orton before Backlash, I have an opportunity, but it's just for one of you. Now, Randy Orton, I've given him a well-deserved night off. The crowd boos. She says, so tonight, we will have a 3-on-2 handicap match. The three of you will team up and face Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. If Team Legacy wins, no one will face Randy Orton. But if your team wins, the one that scored the pinfall will earn a 1-on-1 match next week against Randy Orton. Match for the number 1 pick in the 2009 draft. Rey Mysterio from Raw versus Evan Bourne from ECW. Mysterio is the current Intercontinental Champion, but this is a non-title match. The bell rings and they lock up. They battle for position. Test of strength. Mysterio turns around and flips over Bourne. Mysterio with a single leg takedown. Bourne responds with a monkey flip. Mysterio holds on and gets a modified sunset flip. Bourne rolls through and goes for a Boston Crab. He can't get it on, so he slingshots Mysterio out to the apron. Bourne follows that up with a shot to the midsection and goes for a sunset flip. Mysterio holds on and counters with a double stomp to Bourne. Bourne with a forearm. Bourne rushes Mysterio, who hits Bourne with a drop toe hold to the barricade. Mysterio throws Bourne back inside and gets a 2 count. Mysterio goes for an Irish whip, but Bourne holds on and kicks Mysterio in the stomach. Bourne with a chop to the chest, misses a clothesline attempt, and Mysterio comes back with a flying forearm. Bourne comes back with a headlock. Mysterio gets back to his feet and elbows Bourne in the stomach to try to get out of the move. He punches Bourne a few times, and Bourne responds with a spin kick to knock Mysterio down. Bourne with a standing moonsault for a 2 count. Bourne goes up top, but Mysterio up and catches Bourne with the forearm. Mysterio with the Hurricane Rana to Bourne off the top turnbuckle to get a close 2 count. Bourne with a sudden strike, and Mysterio responds by setting Bourne up for the 619. Mysterio hits it and goes up top and splashes Bourne to win, and Raw gets the first draft pick. The first draft pick is the U.S. Champion MVP. He comes out and is pumped up. Kane is shown walking in the back. WWE Hall of Famer Chief Jay Strongbow is shown at ringside and takes a bow. Kane comes out. He is facing the Brian Kendrick, no relation, with Ezekiel Jackson. Kendrick slaps Kane. Kane goes after Kendrick, who takes off out of the ring, and Kane follows. Jackson steps up to Kane, who takes Jackson out with a big boot. Kendrick comes over to try to take advantage, but Kane drops Kendrick with one shot. Kane throws Kendrick back into the ring. Kendrick begging off in the corner, but hits Kane with a shot when he comes over. Kendrick comes over and goes for an acid drop-like move from the top rope, but Kane pushes off. Kane then hits a choke slam on Kendrick and pins him. Raw gets another draft pick. The Big Show is drafted to Raw and he comes out. Vicky Guerrero and Chavo are shown in the back. She is excited about being the new GM of Raw and says it's a new start for her. Randy Orton comes in. He is upset that she made the match with the stipulations that the title will be on the line next week if one of Triple H's team wins. Guerrero says, what If Legacy wins, whomever gets pinned will have to face Legacy in a 3-on-1 match next week. Orton likes that and then leaves. John Cena is shown in the back. He gets approached by Jack Swagger. He says tonight he's going to show everyone why he is the future of this company, and after he beats Cena, he will be the new WWE poster boy. Cena makes fun of Swagger and tells Swagger that tonight he gets a lesson in respect. 6 Diva Tag Team match. Divas champion Maurice, Natalya, and Michelle McCool versus Mickie James, Kelly, and WWE Women's Champion Melina. The SmackDown Divas are arguing over who starts, and they get jumped by the Raw Divas. The referee separates them, and James and McCool start. McCool with a takedown and punches to James, and then grabs her by her hair to lift James back up. James responds with forearms to McCool. McCool comes back with a knee to the midsection to knock James down. McCool with a European uppercut to James. McCool with a forearm shot and an Irish whip. James ducks a clothesline attempt and comes back with a snapmare. She follows that up with a baseball slide to knock McCool down. She gets a 1 count. McCool pushes James into a corner, but James with the back elbow when McCool charges. McCool charges again, and James head scissors McCool to the center of the ring. James goes up top, but McCool hits her with a kick to the midsection. McCool then pins James. SmackDown gets Melina in the draft. WWE rewind of John Cena on the cutting edge and begging Edge to hit him, and Edge walking away. Champion versus champion match for 2 draft picks. ECW champion Jack Swagger versus World Heavyweight champion John Cena. Cena out first to a big ovation. Swagger comes out all business. The bell rings and they stare at each other. They lock up and Swagger with a single leg takedown. Cena up and Swagger tells him to come on. Swagger with the waist lock and Cena won't go down. So Swagger just picks Cena up and slams him down. Cena rolls over as soon as he hits the mat to avoid the pin, and Swagger counters with a front face lock. Cena rolls back and forth to try to break the hold, but Swagger keeps the hold on and just rolls with Cena. Swagger lets go and gets up and tells Cena to get up so they can wrestle as a Cena chant goes out. Cena jumps up and catches Swagger with a forearm and a shoulder tackle to knock Swagger down. Swagger rolls to the outside and Cena comes out after him. He clotheslines Swagger on the outside. He rolls Swagger back in the ring and gets a 1 count. Cena with an Irish whip drops his head too early and Swagger kicks him in the face and hits a big clothesline to Cena. Swagger gets a 2 count. Swagger runs Cena headfirst into a turnbuckle. Swagger corner whips Cena, who hits the turnbuckle back first and falls to the mat. Cena gets up and immediately gets clotheslined back down by Swagger. He gets a 2 count. Swagger gets Cena down in the corner and gets his knee into Cena's throat for a 3 count. Cena with the right to Swagger's midsection as a Let's Go Swagger chant goes out. Cena punches Swagger into a corner and corner whips Swagger. Swagger moves on the charge and Cena stops right before he crashes into the turnbuckle. Swagger gets a full Nelson on. Cena trying to break the full Nelson and has his left arm reaching towards the rope. Swagger pulls Cena back. Cena breaks the hold. Cena with an elbow to Swagger, ducks a clothesline attempt, and hits Swagger with a series of shoulder tackles. Cena ducks a clothesline attempt and scoop slams Swagger. You can't see me. 5-knuckle shuffle. Cena goes for the AA, but Swagger grabs the ropes. Cena drops him and Swagger hits him with a big boot. Swagger gets a 2 count. Swagger runs Cena shoulder first into a corner post. When they come back from a commercial break, Cena backdrops Swagger. Cena with a clothesline. Both men down and a double count going. They show Cena being knocked from the apron to the announce desk during the commercial. Both up at the 8 count and going back and forth in the center of the ring. Swagger avoids a Cena blow and hits a modified DDT. It was sloppy looking, but effective. Swagger gets a 2 count. Swagger with a knee lift to Cena. He gets another 2 count. Swagger with a scoop slam attempt, but Cena slips behind and rushes Swagger, who power slams Cena. He gets another 2 count. Swagger goes for the Swagger bomb, and Cena catches him and goes for the AA. He then gets the STF on Swagger. Swagger taps, and Raw gets 2 draft picks. The picks are Matt Hardy, who comes out and mocks Cena. The second pick is Triple H. He comes out with the WWE title. Cena looking at Triple H when he gets attacked from behind by Edge. Edge with a corner whip, but Cena moves on the charge. Cena goes for the AA, but Edge slips out and leaves the ring. The announce team highlight what has happened in the draft so far. Randy Orton talks to Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase about what is going to happen in the match and what their plan is going to be. Santino Marella versus the Great Khali. Before the bell rings, Beth Phoenix and Rosa Mendez come out. Phoenix tells Marella that she had a conversation with Vicky Guerrero earlier and there is more on the line than just a draft pick. If Marella loses, then his twin sister, Santina, will be a guest on the Khali Kiss Cam next week, and Marella looks nervous. The bell rings and Marella immediately asks for a timeout. Marella walks up to Khali and only gets to his chest. Marella attacking Khali with left and right hands. Khali grabs Marella by the head and throws him into a corner. Khali grabs Marella by the throat, and Marella grabs the ropes and latches himself to them with his arms and legs. Marella rushes Khali, but falls down when he hits him. Marella gets up, only to be chopped down again by Khali. Khali then covers Marella with a foot and pins him. SmackDown's draft pick is CM Punk. He comes out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. The Miz with John Morrison versus Kofi Kingston. The bell rings and they lock up. Miz with a side headlock. Kingston responds with a takeover. Another lockup and Kingston comes back with a side headlock. Miz pushes off. Kingston comes back with a shoulder block. Another lockup and Miz goes back to the side headlock. Kingston pushes off and Miz comes back with a forearm to knock Kingston down. Kingston with some leapfrogs to avoid Miz and hits Miz with a back elbow. He gets a 1 count. Kingston with an armbar to Miz. Miz gets to the ropes. Miz with a forearm and kicks Kingston to get him down. He drives Kingston down and applies a wrist lock. Kingston keeps kipping up and Miz keeps trying to drive him back down to the mat. Kingston twists out of the move and arm drags Miz to the floor. Morrison helps Miz up. Kingston goes to dive out on them, but they move so Kingston just bounces off the ropes and stays in the ring. He then runs and hits Miz with a baseball slide to the outside. Kingston comes out and he comes after Morrison, allowing Miz to hit a baseball slide to Kingston. Miz then picks Kingston up and drops him headfirst on the apron. Miz mocking Kingston with a boom boom sound and then throws Kingston into the ring. Miz gets a 1 count. Miz with a modified rear chin lock where his hands are over Kingston's face. Kingston makes his way back to his feet. Miz with some knee strikes and a side headlock to force Kingston back to the mat. Kingston trying to keep his shoulder up to avoid getting pinned. Miz up and hitting a series of knee strikes to Kingston. Miz with a headlock to Kingston. Kingston trying to get out as a Let's Go Kofi chant goes out. Kingston gets back to his feet and hits some elbows to Miz to try to break the hold. Miz spins around and bulldogs Kingston into the turnbuckle. Miz gets a 2 count. Miz choking Kingston on the second rope for a 4 count. Miz with a float over guillotine on Kingston, which was impressive. He gets a 2 count. Miz goes to a headlock. Kingston responds with some elbows and runs Miz back into a turnbuckle. Kingston flips Miz over to get Miz off of him, back and forth in the middle of the ring. Kingston ducks a clothesline attempt and hits a clothesline of his own. Miz rolls out of the way to avoid a move, so Kingston pivots. Miz reverses a corner whip, but Kingston hits a Pele kick to Miz over the ropes. Kingston with a crossbody off the top rope, but Miz rolls through and gets a close 2 count. Miz hits a modified skull-crushing finale, but I don't believe it was his finishing move yet. He gets a 2 count. Miz with an Irish whip. Kingston comes back and slides through Miz's legs and catches his legs, and Miz struggling not to go down. Miz goes for a clothesline and Kingston with a side Russian leg sweep that Matt Striker calls a side Jamaican leg sweep, but I'm not getting on board for that. Kingston hits the boom drop, but Miz still kicks out at 2. Kingston misses an enziguri and Miz gets a 2 count. Kingston lifts Miz up, but Miz slips behind and rolls Kingston up. Kingston rolls through and gets a 2 count. Miz reverses a corner whip, but Kingston gets his boots up on the charge. Morrison goes to push Kingston off the apron, but gets caught and referee Charles Robinson disqualifies Miz. Miz upset at Morrison. Raw's draft pick is The Miz. Like we couldn't see this coming. Miz looks shocked. He and Morrison hug, and then Miz turns on Morrison and kicks him in the stomach, and then hits Morrison with the reality check neck breaker. Tri-brand 15-man battle royal for 2 picks in the draft. Raw superstars: MVP, Crime Time, Big Show, Mike Knox. ECW stars: Finlay, Tyson Kidd, Mark Henry, Paul Burchill, Ricky Ortiz. SmackDown stars: Carlito, Primo, R-Truth, Chavo Guerrero, and Edge. The bell rings and the forearms fly. People start to pair off. Ortiz eliminated. Guerrero eliminated. Burchill eliminated. Shad Gaspard eliminated. Knox eliminated. Primo then eliminated. R-Truth and Kid both eliminated. JTG eliminated. Carlo eliminated by Big Show. MVP eliminated by Henry. Finley eliminated. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty now. It's down to Mark Henry, Big Show, and Edge, so each brand represented. Big Show chokeslams Edge, and Henry attacks Big Show, trying to eliminate him. Big Show picks Henry up and puts him on the apron. Henry holds on, and it doesn't take a psychic to see what's going to happen next. But they surprise me as Big Show knocks Henry to the floor. Big Show stalking Edge. Big Show rushes Edge, who does the patented drop-down rope spot to eliminate Big Show and gets 2 draft picks for SmackDown. Big Show visibly frustrated at ringside. The draft picks are Kane and Chris Jericho. Chili from TLC is shown in the crowd, and Matt Stryker sings part of Waterfalls and says stay away from Andre Rison's house. Stryker has no chill. Christian versus Shelton Benjamin. Benjamin with the T-bone suplex right out of the gate as the bell rings. He follows that up with a knee and a forearm. He then hits a snapmare, and it has been all Benjamin so far. Benjamin with a running kick and gets a 2 count. Christian comes back with some right hands to Benjamin. Benjamin stops a corner whip with a knee to the stomach of Christian. Benjamin with a forearm, and Christian responds with a drop toe hold that lands Benjamin throat first into the second rope. Christian to the outside, and he slaps Benjamin across the face. Christian goes up top, and Benjamin jumps to the top rope and tosses Christian off in one fell swoop. Christian rolls outside to regroup, and Benjamin comes out after him. Benjamin rolls Christian back in and gets a 2 count. Benjamin follows that up with a scoop slam. Benjamin runs his knee into Christian's back and then pulls back on Christian's arm and neck, trying to get a submission. Benjamin gets Christian on the ground and applies the arm bar. Christian gets back to his feet and hits Benjamin with some right hands to try to break the hold. Christian with a corner whip. He does another corner whip, and Benjamin with the reverse crossbody, but Christian drops down to avoid the move. Christian coming back with a series of right hands. He knocks Benjamin to the ground. Benjamin reverses an Irish whip. Christian slides through Benjamin's legs to avoid the clothesline, and then avoids a heel kick. Christian goes for the kill switch. Benjamin slips out and hits a backbreaker to Christian for a 2 count. Christian pushes Benjamin into a corner and goes for a monkey flip. He hits it, but Benjamin lands on his feet. Benjamin with a back elbow and goes for a corner splash, but Christian moves. Christian hits the kill switch and pins Benjamin, and ECW finally gets a draft pick. ECW gets Vladimir Kozlov. Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler recap what has happened between Triple H and Randy Orton. Triple H and Shane McMahon are shown in the back. They are joined by Batista. They all argue over who is going to get Orton. CM Punk versus Matt Hardy. The bell rings and they lock up. Punk with a quick roll up for a 1 count. They lock up and break when the ref separates them. Punk with a set of kicks to the legs of Hardy. Punk goes for an Irish whip, but Hardy holds on and gets a wrist lock on Punk. Hardy goes for the twist of fate, but Punk pushes off. Punk gets Hardy up for the GTS, but Hardy slips behind Punk, and Punk with a kick and a knee to Hardy. He follows that up with a suplex and cover and gets a 1 count. Punk with a series of knees to Hardy in the corner. Punk reverses a corner whip. Hardy then charges in, and Punk lifts his boots to avoid the charge, but Hardy grabs Punk's legs and drives him face first down to the mat. Hardy gets a 2 count. Hardy follows that up with a kick to the ribs. He gets another 2 count. Hardy with a side slam and another 2 count. Hardy with an abdominal stretch. Hardy also hitting Punk in the ribs, trying to force him into submitting. Punk elbowing Hardy in the knee to try to break the hold. Punk ducks a clothesline attempt and responds with a spin kick. Punk with a knee lift to Hardy. Punk follows that up with a clothesline and an Irish whip to Hardy. Punk with a heel kick and cover, but only gets a 2 count. Punk gets Hardy in the corner and hits him with an elbow to the head. Hardy reverses a corner whip and hits a corner clothesline. Hardy goes for a bulldog, but Punk pushes off and hits a running knee to Hardy in the corner. Punk then hits a bulldog on Hardy. He gets a 2 count. Punk kicks Hardy in the stomach and again tries for the GTS, and Hardy slips out of the move again and goes for a move. Punk ducks and goes for a clothesline. Hardy ducks and hits a side effect. As Hardy gets back up, Jeff Hardy hits the ring and attacks Matt, causing the DQ. Jeff slams Matt down and goes up top. Matt rolls out of the ring to avoid getting hit. Matt takes off and Jeff follows him. Punk left pissed off in the ring at being disqualified. Raw's draft pick is Divas champion Maurice. Chris Jericho versus Tommy Dreamer. SmackDown versus ECW here. The bell rings and they lock up. Jericho with a side headlock. Dreamer pushes off. Jericho comes back with a shoulder block. Jericho runs the ropes and Dreamer with a hip toss. Then an arm drag to Jericho. Dreamer then clotheslines Jericho to the outside of the ring. Dreamer goes out after him and throws Jericho back into the ring. Jericho kicks Dreamer as he is getting back in the ring. Jericho with some shots and a snapmare to Dreamer in the ring. Jericho then kicks Dreamer when he is down. Dreamer blocks a suplex attempt. Dreamer then suplexes Jericho. Dreamer with a corner whip, but Jericho gets his boot up on the charge. Jericho puts his heel on Dreamer for a 3 count. Jericho with a running knee to Dreamer's back, while Dreamer was draped on the second rope. Jericho with a snapmare and a headlock. Dreamer up and breaks free. He kicks Jericho in the face and clotheslines Jericho down. Another clothesline and corner whip to Jericho, who lands on the top rope, and Dreamer kicks him in the stomach. Jericho then falls into the Tree of Woe position. Dreamer with a running baseball slide to Jericho. Dreamer with a front face lock, and Jericho counters with a double leg pickup and tries to turn Dreamer over for the walls of Jericho, but Dreamer gets a roll up for a close 2 count. Jericho with a kick to the stomach and a forearm. Dreamer with a modified power bomb and another close 2 count. Dreamer goes up top, but Jericho falls on the top rope, causing Dreamer to crotch himself on the top rope. Jericho goes for the superplex, and Dreamer with strikes trying to prevent it. He pushes Jericho off. Dreamer off the second rope, only for Jericho to hit him with the code breaker to get the pin. SmackDown's draft pick is Rey Mysterio. The draft so far is reviewed. Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase versus Triple H, Shane McMahon, and Batista. The entrances take up time, so there's less than 10 minutes left by the time the bell rings. As soon as the bell rings, McMahon out and hitting both members of Legacy. He kicks Rhodes down in the corner. McMahon with an Irish whip and a back elbow to Rhodes. He gets a 1 count. McMahon hitting Rhodes with some shots, and as he is dancing around, Batista tags himself in, and McMahon asking him what's up with that. Batista clotheslines DiBiase, who had tagged in. Batista runs his shoulder into DiBiase in the corner. Batista with a snapmare and then hits him with a running kick. Batista gets DiBiase up on his shoulder, but Triple H grabs DiBiase's leg and pulls him off with Batista's shoulder to fall on the ropes, and Triple H tags himself in. Triple H beating DiBiase down in the corner. DiBiase reverses an Irish whip and drops his head, so Triple H hits DiBiase with a knee lift. Triple H follows that up with a clothesline and starts to cover DiBiase, but gets up when Rhodes indicates that he was coming in, but changes his mind when Triple H gets up. DiBiase to a corner and gets a leg up when Triple H charges. DiBiase out of the corner only to get hit with a spine buster from Triple H. Triple H covers DiBiase, only for Batista to break up the pin. Triple H staring at Batista as referee Mike Chioda gets Batista out of the ring, and DiBiase takes advantage and clips Triple H in the leg. Rhodes tagged in and beating Triple H down in the corner. DiBiase tagged back in, and he and Rhodes split Triple H's legs. DiBiase dropping a series of elbows on Triple H's leg. DiBiase grabs the leg lock, and Triple H fighting out with strikes to DiBiase. DiBiase up and Irish whips Triple H. He drops his head early and gets kicked by Triple H. DiBiase responds with a drop kick. He gets a 2 count. Rhodes tagged in. He works on Triple H's leg. He puts the leg lock on. Rhodes covers and gets a 1 count. He covers again and gets another 1 count. Rhodes with a front face lock and Ted DiBiase tag back in. DiBiase rams Triple H's leg down on the apron. DiBiase back in, beats Triple H on the mat and gets a 2 count. DiBiase with a leg lock, but Triple H kicks him off to a corner. DiBiase cuts off a tag attempt. Rhodes tagged in. He beats Triple H down and gets a 2 count. Triple H reverses into a backdrop. Both DiBiase and Batista tagged in. Batista with an Irish whip and a backdrop. He clotheslines DiBiase and then clotheslines Rhodes off the apron. Batista with a power slam, but Rhodes breaks up the cover. McMahon clotheslines himself and Rhodes over the top rope. Batista hits a spine buster on DiBiase. He follows that up with the Batista bomb. Batista covers, only for McMahon to break up the pin attempt. Batista shoves McMahon hard. Triple H then tags himself in. He and Batista argue and McMahon tackles Batista. Triple H takes advantage and pedigrees DiBiase and pins him. McMahon, Triple H, and Batista staring at each other. Randy Orton's music hits and he appears on the ramp. He stares at the 3 men in the ring as they sign off from Atlanta. Final thoughts. This was a dense show. It was clear at this point that they didn't care anything about ECW as a brand, and even then, 3 hours was way too long. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. If you would like to support the show, you can at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.